What's going on, guys? This is another tactical breakdown, and this time it's of a Half-Life animation, a fan animation made by TheParryGod, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know what this is, but it is Patient Zero. And so, a little bit of background with me and Half-Life. Half-Life is up there with Halo for me as far as my favorite shooter of all time. I think I've played Half-Life a little bit more, so I know a lot more about the lore, and I know a lot about how disturbing it is, because a lot of the subtext behind the game is the actual enemies you're fighting at the Combine, and this is basically a team or a squad, I would call it a team, going in to basically try to find some kind of Combine tech, as far as I know. That's all I know about this. I don't think I've seen it before, but I saw it as a suggested after looking at the Sodaz videos, and so let's see what we got. It looked really cool from the beginning. Or, sorry, it looked really cool from the thumbnail. We got civil protection. And so, civil protection, of course, as everybody knows, they're not the altered, dehumanized, soulless, kind of golem soldiers. These guys are just regular people, kind of collaborators, I guess you can call them. But they police their own human race, and they're kind of the blank, disgusting, soulless face of the Combine, even though they are just people. So they should go down just like other people would. So 4 years before Gordon Freeman comes on the train. And I probably should be listening to the dialogue, but we'll see. I can't understand it anyway. Never could. So a little bit of the dehumanization. Obviously, everybody in an actual team or squad would know each other. And of course, the CPs don't. Well, they know each other, but they don't call each other by their name. So C-17I-4, I mean, funny story about numbers and everything and dehumanization. When you go to basic training, I'm assuming they still do this in the Army. I'm not so sure about the Marines. They basically, you do have your name tag, but they don't call you by your name. You basically get a number based on an alphabetical of your name. And so I think I was 405 or something like that. But it's basically your platoon, and then whatever number you are, your last name is down the line. Pretty simple. But instead of saying Private, Smith or whatever, they would call you, hey, 104, come over here. A little bit similar to this. It's a little bit of dehumanization, but not, as severe as this, of course. And another thing I've always wondered about the CPs is how well they can breathe with those masks on. Because any kind of gas mask I wore was just incredibly bad. Hated it. Could not breathe at all. So this kind of shows that they are indeed human. So if you think the Combine soldiers are these kind of course, like I called them before, golems, these guys are definitely very human. He's very nervous wherever he's going right now. Or maybe he's anticipating it. Something that's interesting when I noticed is when like I said before, I was in a Striker brigade, Striker infantry, mounted infantry. This was very similar. You'd kind of be waiting, getting updates of how close you guys are. And then a lot of guys would actually be sleeping literally right up until you get to the objective, right till you get there. These guys are probably not even able to physically sleep because I know a lot of their heart rate and everything's probably monitored by the Overwatch. And yeah, so it is interesting to kind of see these guys as human because all we see in the game is kind of them being cruel to other people. And of course, they get these sick rewards, sometimes quite literally, through chemicals or extra rations for abusing the population. And so let's see how these collaborators do it. Definitely individuals. I've always loved how the Combine tech kind of molds into the general idea of what they would imagine without paying too much attention to what a vehicle would look like in a human vehicle, since they're molding these around. They're kind of peasant peon people. Very interesting looking truck. Of course, a face only a mother could love. That's a pretty small team. But then they have this guy. So I feel like they are not expecting trouble, but maybe they are. And of course, this is before the resistance actually began their uprising, and so I don't think they're trying or expecting any kind of major resistance here. And of course, we never see anything, unfortunately, we don't see anything like this big dude here. But yeah, the guys are kind of walking around somewhat loosely as if they're not expecting to get shot at, but then they take a knee as soon as this guy gets out. So I'm curious if they were kind of like reminded that, hey, we're kind of on the job. So that guy, when we wind, has very interesting physiology. His legs look super short, and his torso is very, very large, or very long. Wonder if he's like a transhuman, some kind of altered boy by the Combine. It's very interesting. Obviously, we never see this in the games. Love the animation style. I love the way they show how depressing the architecture is. It's even worse than the games. The games are very kind of like sterile. This is very dirty and grimy. I love the way it looks. So because they have the Overwatch voice kind of announcing their arrival, it doesn't seem like they're actually trying to do a raid, which makes sense. They're not moving with a purpose, really. It seems like they're kind of just, like I said, not expecting much, but they're there just to kind of check something out. So I heard sweep and clear. Looks like they have... Rewind it really quick. Let's see what he has on his belt. So those almost look like the little power packs you get for recharging your energy or your armor, but I'm not sure. They could also be maybe man hacks or something. And of course, he has a stun baton, which is cool. But yeah, I do find it funny too that the best weapon that these CPs get is an SMG. They don't get the badass Overwatch kind of blended energy projectile weapons like the soldiers and the big dude get. Also surprised, like I said, that they don't have very large numbers. He's carrying a pistol. It just doesn't seem like they're really setting up for trouble. And a man hack. So I love that. They have 360 security. As you're walking, they're in what we call a diamond formation. We would want to be a little bit more spread out, but of course, great looking for the animation. And like I said, they are not expecting trouble at all. They rule this place. No one would dare resist them. They are the Combine, of course. But if you notice, as they walk in, they're checking around. They're looking up and down, left and right. The guy in front's leading, which is perfect. It looks like he has a lot of armor on. And the person in the back is checking the back, which in this situation, it looks... they have kind of count of the population, know how many people are here. Surprised they don't have another truck at least, and a couple guys to guard their trucks, but... And I can't wait to see that weapon in action. That rifle, that big gun looks amazing. Yep, great. Looking behind him. Good 360 security. So I never really took the Combine, like CPs, the Civil Protection. Of course, an ironic name. But I never took them as like very well trained in the game. I look like they basically just hand guns and batons to people, strap something on their face. So we got a 38 special.
I think they're inside. See anymore? No, just the four. Shit. Why is there a soldier with them? We should have just gunned them down with a round. Hey.
That actually isn't the worst idea, to be shooting at them when they're out there. I'm not sure what weapons they have. Looks like they have a couple pistols. Yeah, I think you have a much better chance outside than inside, because that dude, the big dude, looks like he has a lot of armor on it. And of course, the Combine soldiers, of course, as Gordon Freeman, not very difficult to take down, but Those guys are pretty badass. And so it is interesting. So they do have one soldier with them. Curious why that would be. And if it is going to be some kind of like contact, which is what I was assuming, you would send a soldier with a group of CPs if you were expecting trouble. So why aren't there more CPs? I don't think they have a manpower problem. I mean, if I was the civil protection, kind of anytime I go through here, I would just dump manhacks everywhere. That's personally what I would do, because if Gordon Freeman's not there, manhacks are going to be uber effective.
Keep your head. We knew this could happen, and we've got a plan for a reason.
So he's obviously the leader. He's obviously the leader.
All right, let's turn that thing back on.
Weird combine worm. So I would assume this is an ambush, obviously. And I'm curious why exactly. Because if I was going to ambush Civil Patrol, it's not going to just end with the CPs, and apparently the soldier, they didn't know the soldier was going to come. But they're obviously reactivating that kind of weird little combine worm to draw them into that room or whatever. So we'll see. I'm not really sure what the overall goal of this is. How terrifying would it be to go against a manhack? That'd be very difficult to shoot. You basically just had to use a shotgun. Even then, as we see in the game, it takes a couple shots to kill one of those things. Yeah, these guys are just completely unconcerned. They're not really... They said, I caught the word sweep and clear earlier. They are not sweeping and they're not clearing. These guys are very nonchalant. So again, I'm very confused why there's a soldier there. Maybe he's just there for fun. But I thought that soldiers were basically mind-wiped and soul-wiped humans. So why would he be trying to have fun? Yeah, this is a very interesting scenario overall. Because even if you think the place is abandoned, you think you would at least have your guns at low ready, just in case. Got a live signal. That is extremely cool.
You think they heard it?
Yeah, you should have checked that earlier.
Guess we'll see.
Interesting, they have some kind of super-powered buckshot.
You think they heard it?
So it says slug. Not sure what kind of slug, but hopefully it's enough to take down the soldier, because CPs will go down to the pistol, but also the manhack, I'm curious how they deal with that. That is a beautiful shotgun. I can't tell exactly what type it is.
Guess we'll see.
Shut it.
So it seems like they were going there for this little worm thing, and they were pretty nonchalant, like they wouldn't find it there or something. And as soon as they reactivated, they kind of went into tactical mode, where now they're kind of in a hurry, which is also weird. Why would you be in a hurry? I said it in one of my last videos, when you're clearing any kind of housing or you're moving any kind of urban areas, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. But of course, I'm not sure how much the CPs are trained, but they called the big guy a soldier, so I'm assuming he has some kind of tactical training. They should be following his lead. So he told him to stack up. This is interesting, and this is exactly why you would want to have a bunch more guys there. Whatever this is, it's obviously important enough to send this big guy with them. So bare minimum, I would want at least another team. I would want, realistically, probably 5 or 6 teams to be clearing that. If you could, a whole lot more. And this is exactly why. Any kind of ambush or anything, you're kind of screwed. And this would work really well, I'm assuming, since they were not planning to have more than just civil protection. Yeah, we'll see how this works, because the ambush would probably work very well against regular civil protection. Rewind it a little bit. So you hear him say clear right. The guy on the left, as far as I haven't heard, he didn't check the corner on the left. He went straight. But of course, the guy behind him checked the corner on the left. That's not really the way you want to go. Usually when you crash in there, first of all, they're going way too fast. And of course, I'm assuming because the CPs probably aren't trained super well, they're kind of just mimicking, following the soldier. Because the soldier looks actually really good. He goes in there, you look straight, and immediately to your corner. The other guy flows the exact same way, but opposite. He goes straight, and then to the left corner, and then back to straight. The guy on the left should, in our training, we would call him dead, basically. But I guess they did have the man hack there. Maybe that's why he didn't. So it looked like I was wrong before. What was on the guy's belt? Looks like the two kind of what I thought were batteries were basically magazines for his pistol. Sound design is amazing. So I kind of understand what he was saying. He's saying there's evidence of tampering, which of course there's tools on the kitchen. That right there, why are you not thinking that they're still here? It's very possible that they're so cocky that, this is 4 years before the resistance, before Freeman comes. I'm assuming they're basically just like, we're here. If they were here, they ran. I would not assume that. You can never assume that. Have your guard up. Very nonchalant. Uh-oh. Amazing. So I always wondered what the hoppers would do, like how they would be used in real life, because of course in the games they're very obvious with the red light and everything. Like I said, I've not seen this. That surprised me. I was not expecting that. I was expecting maybe an explosion of some kind, but not not the hopping kind. So very cool way to use it. That's kind of what you get for not having your guard up. Although in that scenario, I'm not sure how you'd be able to prevent that. Very, very clever though. I love the way they show that.
Yeah.
So they should have been in there shooting them all anyway. As I've said before, our main opponent when we were overseas, or when I was overseas, were IEDs. This is obviously the Half-Life version of IEDs, that was really cool to see. That was like one of the coolest things I've seen. Again, I love the sound design in this. I love the weapon sounds. I love the sounds of the death of the Combine. That's one of the most satisfying kind of feedbacks when you're playing that game, is when you kill one of these guys. But of course, where's the soldier?
Yeah, I'm fine.
There he is. Oh, okay. So it looks like he had a bunch of shrapnel. Yeah, so that is something that's not shown very often in movie depiction or anything, is the actual, what does most of the damage in explosions is not the explosion itself, it's the shrapnel. And of course, that's parts of the table. That's pretty amazing. That guy's, if he's not dead now, he's going to be dead in a couple seconds. Devastating. The Combine's weaponry is always kind of a joke, because we don't really see how powerful the Combine weapons are, because Freeman takes like 1,000 hits before he dies. But realistically, these are like, I don't even know how to describe them. I might look them up later to kind of see the particulars, but these are energized. They're from a civilization that can actually cross dimensional barriers. I mean, they're combining it with our weapons because they're using humanoid and human structures to kind of as weapons carriers for their weapon systems. But these things are most likely devastating, especially to unarmored opponents like this. Doesn't even have a helmet on. And of course, seeing your best friend, or one of your good friends, I'm assuming is what this is. This guy's you basically go into fight, flight, or freeze. And I'm assuming if you saw that after the explosion, most guys would be running.
Run!
That's a good instinct. God. So that's something I would imagine. It's interesting when you look at the big guy's armor, it's very soft. And so most people think that body armor needs to be hard. And even our modern military armor, regular infantry armor, it's technically hard to our touch, but the softness of it, the flexibility, it's actually catching the bullets. So I'm assuming him with his physiology, I would assume it's very thick, padded, and I'm assuming his physiology is what his organs probably aren't in the same place as what that's kind of my headcanon. I'm always assuming they kind of move the organs of these human soldiers around. Maybe that's why his torso is so elongated. Headcanon, of course, but I can't imagine trying to fight an opponent where his armor and everything is so much more superior than me, and I wasn't planning for him beforehand, because obviously if you could get your hands on it, multiple explosions would be needed. And so I'm hoping for these guys' sake that the shotgun or something can penetrate that armor, because he just took a couple rounds to the chest and the dome and seemed to be just fine. Yeah, that armor is insane. Look at the damage that does to the walls. That's insane. But yeah, I would love to get my hands on that. I'm sure the kickback is also crazy. That guy looks extremely strong, and the kickback for him looks pretty strong. But yeah, that looks to be like the perfect weapon to bring on a kind of urban operation like this. It goes right through the wall. And something they don't show very well in most animations is usually people don't die right away. And that's exactly what they shown. He got hit by something extremely powerful and he's there screaming on the ground. Probably would have been bleeding out for minutes. But of course, Combine shows mercy sometimes. No man hack. They are lucky they couldn't put up a man hack. So he's kind of doing what I've described in the past as a somewhat short version of slicing the pie. I'm not sure exactly what kind of ammunition or something that he has or how much he has, but it obviously goes right through walls. It'd be interesting if he would just kind of sit there and listen what he could hear, because these people with the adrenaline pumping, most of the Combine soldiers, their whole like adrenal system and everything, but what I understand is controlled by the Overwatcher, controlled through stimulants, so he is much more calm, more likely than these other people. He can probably hear their breathing. I'm not sure if he can smell through the mask, but he can probably smell their odor. That would be another good indicator of where they are in the area. You can just shoot through the walls, if he has enough ammunition. Attention targets, you can come out now. It is safe. So he's giving them an open invitation to surrender. We'll see if he takes it. Interesting. He does seem like he has some emotion, especially with that joke. He doesn't seem like he's one of the full Combine guys yet, like one of the full Combine soldiers. I'm curious if, and we kind of see this in the Entropy 02 mod, if you ever play that, it's amazing. And I do like to kind of add that to my little my head canon of the game, is that to the more elite soldiers, they actually get to retain some of their personality, what kind of made them great, instead of being kind of a mind wiped kind of automaton, a military automaton, which is what most of them kind of are, where all they have in their head is tactical knowledge and a desire to kill. This guy obviously has some kind of sense of humor. He has some kind of sense of tactics still as well. He's kind of slicing pies. He's not afraid to shoot through cover where he thinks they might be. He's going up and down too as well, I noticed. And of course, he will have no mercy. Jeez. Well, apparently even they get that feedback. So one of the most satisfying sounds in video games, in my opinion. Very well done by the team. And those buckshot are pretty intense. If he was able to take several hits from a machine gun and a pistol, and the buckshot is what takes him down in a couple hits, I mean, that's god tier weaponry right there. Of course, if I were them, I would be taking his weapon immediately. That thing is badass as well. Maybe put a couple more rounds in him just to be safe.
Tom.
So I will say, for the most part, situationally very tactically sound. And as I've said before, I didn't break down as much their clearing of the rooms because they weren't exactly trying to clear the room. The only room they were trying to clear was the one with the creature in it, and that's probably a bit of the issue. Especially as soon as they found out that the little worm had been tampered with, that is a red flag immediately to kind of like, hey, spread out and try to find where these people are. Or release more man hacks. I think he had more of them. He obviously tried to take one of them out and it was broken. I would be putting up all the man hacks. I don't think they're in short supply either. But again, very good. I love this animation. I hope he does more. And I love the Half-Life universe. I was a little bit on the hopium train for Half-Life 3, and if it never comes, it never comes, because these mods are also insane. But yeah, please let me know what you guys want me to do next. Thanks.